Yes, we are back, and things are better than ever. It's been a few months since I last posted a video, so I'm sure you're dying to know what we've been up to. Just kidding. The only thing dying is my YouTube channel, because nobody really cares anymore what we're doing here. Except for a few loyal viewers, which I'm sure you're one of. So let's dive in and let me show you what I've been up to. Well, for the most part, I've been finishing up the interior of my houseboat so we can finally start using it in the way it was intended. By now, the interior is starting to look more and more like a spaceship, a surprisingly pleasant side effect of some of my structural and design choices. To remind you, I built it to serve as a comfortable living space for my wife and me, but with a few quick changes, it can turn into a proper event space. And believe it or not, I've actually been driving the boat quite a bit over the past few months, and with all that practice, I can now pull off maneuvers like this. Now the footage is slightly sped up for dramatic effect, and I have to admit that there was very little wind that day, and so with the two outboards in the back and the bow thruster in the front, the boat can literally spin in place and even move sideways. Besides this, as usual, I've been working on the roof of my barracks ship and doing a bunch of other little jobs, which naturally come up when you have several boats at anchor. But for now, let's have a look at my main boat, the boat which I call Andromeda. Let's start with the empty boat and a quick reminder of the layout inside the boat. The cabin I built on top measures about 40 feet or about 12 meters long, leaving some space aft for the helm and a small terrace at the bow. You might remember that we built a raised wooden floor at the rear of the cabin where we placed the bathroom. That's also where I made the most significant recent improvements. In true My First Boat fashion, there's still a bit of a temporary vibe, simply because it's not so easy to build a bathroom on a boat that can withstand the onslaught of a large number of people. I put a lot of thought into the layout of the sink and the toilet. For example, I made the area around the sink waterproof using rubber foil, and the area around the toilet is also somewhat waterproof and easy to clean. That way, our male guests can just come and spray away. I installed a lowered ceiling with a simple grid and thin painted plywood panels. An RGB light that fits perfectly into one of the grid squares allows for quick lighting changes inside the bathroom. And with that, we got a bathroom that's perfectly suited for use by even a larger number of people. Next, of course, we have our kitchen. Simple and functional, nothing new here since the last time I posted a video about it. Moving forward, we step down from the raised floor. This is where our pellet furnace is located. Nothing new here either. To this day, we're still very happy with it. By now, you may have noticed that the ceiling in the living area is white, while in the event area it's black. In a previous video, I showed you how I covered the insulation panels in the back with black foil, whereas in the living area, I simply painted the panels directly using a special type of paint. Next, you probably remember my foldable beds. They've been a real game changer for this boat, since now it can transform from a living space into an event space, literally within seconds. You may also have noticed that we finally installed pleated blinds in all our doors and windows. These are so-called day and night blinds with two kinds of cloth. One is see-through, the other one is opaque. They were custom made by a company in Poland. You can find the link in the description if you're based in Europe. I can highly recommend them. Now that you've seen all the interior improvements, let's take a quick look at some of the upgrades we've made on the outside, starting with the helm. Since we've been driving the boat so much lately, I've installed a few very useful items. A rear view mirror. Of course, I already had my monitor that displays the front camera feed. And the latest addition, a powerful horn. The helm itself is very much DIY and totally temporary for now, though it's been almost 3 years at this point. To give you a bit of background on the helm, it was actually the very first structure I built on the deck of the boat. At that time, I had already decided on the final height of the cabin, so I basically built the cabin around the helm, so to speak. I only did some light waterproofing so far, adding some leftover sandwich panels on top and to the rear of the platform, and I put a rubber tarp on top. I also welded in a few mounting points so I can later add a proper roof, ideally one that can be raised and lowered to pass under the many bridges in and around Berlin. But that will have to wait until next season. As a little extra for this summer, I set up a barbecue on a makeshift platform behind the helm. One smaller upgrade I made was pouring concrete into the gaps along the sides of the boat where the sandwich panels meet the deck. It might not look like much, but we poured nearly 100 kilos, that's around 200 pounds of concrete on each side. This helps with insulation and adds stability to the panels. I also added some corner panels. These not only improve both waterproofing and airtightness, but they also help with aerodynamics. I had them custom made to my specs by a local metalworking shop, and they were powder coated for durability and a clean finish. But the biggest visual change I made on the exterior was repainting the doors and windows. Before we get into that, let me give you a quick recap of the doors and windows on our boat. First off, there are a lot of them, coming in all kinds of sizes, shapes and functions. My goal was to create a bright, open space filled with natural light while still keeping the amount of window surface manageable. I actually had the windows custom made to my own specs, and so you might be wondering why I didn't just order them in the correct color to begin with. Well, I simply forgot. Honestly, at the time, it was a hectic period. I was juggling so many details about the boat in general that something as simple as the frame color for the windows and doors completely slipped my mind. So now I have to fix that. The only real solution is to paint them. For that, I'm using a special paint designed specifically for use on plastic surfaces. I guess at this point I don't need to emphasize anymore just how tedious this kind of work is, not only because it's on a boat, because I have to take another boat just to reach most of the windows and doors I'm painting, but also because I constantly have to climb up and down because of the height difference, and of course the sheer number of windows and doors that need painting. But in the end, I managed to get it done. There are still a few spots that need final touches, but overall, the effect I was hoping for from the very beginning is finally starting to show. With the windows painted, the job is still far from done. Next, we have to install a frame of plastic strips all around every door and window. Each one has to be cut with millimeter precision and installed in a pretty time-consuming process. They fit into grooves within the door and window frames, and to attach them I used two different sealants. I was smart enough to get an electric silicone gun, but I had to try out two cheaper ones before I was ready to get a more professional model. Now this is a job with great potential for making a mess, and the best technique I've found is not to worry about getting the perfect seams right at the first passage, but once the sealant has cured, I come back with a plastic scraper and clean up the areas around the seams. That way I end up with a great finish all around my doors and windows. And with that, we are one step closer to actually finishing the boat. Now before we go, please bear with me a bit longer. I want to show you a truly impressive new tool that helped me out a great deal. The Anker SOLIX C1000 Gen 2, holding the Guinness World Record for the world's fastest recharging portable power station. With its 2000 watt output, 2400 watt surge via surge pad, and a 3000 watt peak, it manages to power 99% of appliances, including different types of powerful electric drills, an espresso machine, a microwave oven, and in my case very useful, a powerful water pump. And because it only requires 49 minutes to fully charge, in case I forgot to charge it beforehand, it will be ready for use within a short time, which comes in handy in case of an emergency. It's also 14% smaller and 11% lighter than power stations with the same capacity, which allows me to bring it with me pretty much anywhere I could use a powerful electricity source. for example when I do works on my barracks ship, which currently doesn't have its own power supply. Thanks to the 10 milliseconds uninterruptible power supply function, I can use it with critical electronics where I absolutely can't afford to lose power in case of an outage. The SOLIX is equipped with one USB-A port and 3 USB-C ports. 2 of those have an output of up to 140 watts. With the provided app and TOU mode, I can monitor and remotely control the Anker SOLIX via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connection. And thanks to a built-in smart temperature control system and the EV-class LFP batteries installed inside the C1000, it has a 10-year lifespan with up to 4000 charge cycles. The unibody design makes it physically durable and drop-proof. The Anker SOLIX C1000 Gen 2 is here. Lightning fast charging in just 49 minutes, get 400 euros off now and pay only 599 euros. Find the link in the description box below this video.